At my daughter's wedding, she yelled, "Leave now, you're embarrassing me in front of everyone." I walked away quietly, crying inside. The next morning, "Dad, please give me the beach house keys, we need it for our trip." I handed her the keys with a big smile. When they opened the special drawer in the kitchen, they found letters I'd written explaining everything. If you're watching this, hit subscribe and tell me what country you're from. I'm Robert Chen, 64 years old, and I guess I'm the worst dad according to my only daughter in Seattle. But let me go back to show you how I got my perfect payback on the man who took my daughter away and the daughter who forgot about me. The wedding should have been the best day ever. I spent 4 months helping plan every single thing from the cake to the dinner choices. I even bought a nice grey suit that matched Emma's wedding colors. Everything looked beautiful until I walked inside the party room. "Why is he here?" Emma's voice was mean and loud, cutting through all the happy talking. She stood there in her expensive white dress, pointing at me like I was some bad stranger. My daughter Emma, the girl I raised by myself after her mom left us, just stared with cold eyes. I asked him to come, I said softly. "He's my dad, your dad." Emma laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. The man who tried to ruin our engagement. The man who said Jason was only after our money at the party last week. I never said those exact words, but I did think them. What I really said was that I hoped they talked about money stuff before getting married. I guess that made Emma really mad. "Get out," Emma suddenly screamed, her face turning red from anger and too much party juice. "He doesn't want you here, and honestly, I don't either. This is supposed to be our special day, not another time you make me feel bad." Everyone at the party, maybe 150 people, looked right at me as tears ran down my face. My own daughter, the little girl I stayed up with when she was sick, was kicking me out like I was garbage. I didn't argue or yell back. I just picked up my coat, walked to the exit, and left quietly. But as I sat in my truck in the parking space, looking through the windows as the party kept going without me, something hard and angry grew in my heart. If they wanted to treat me like the bad guy, maybe it was time I showed them what that really meant. The next morning, Emma called me. Her voice sounded different now, sweet and sorry, the way it got when she needed something from me. "Dad, I'm really sorry about yesterday. Jason was just worried and I got too upset. You know how weddings make people crazy." "Of course, sweetie," I said, even though my heart still hurt. "These things happen, I understand. Actually, we need to ask you something. Can we use the beach house for our honeymoon? We want to stay there instead of flying to Hawaii. The plane tickets cost more than we thought." The beach house, my dad's old property by the ocean, worth about $3 million, which Emma thought would be hers someday. The same place where I had my happiest memories before my wife left us. The same place where I'd put special cameras and recording things 5 months ago. "Sure, honey," I said, making my voice sound super nice. "I'll have the keys ready this afternoon." When Emma came with Jason to get the keys, I saw how he wouldn't look at me. Good, he should feel bad about himself. "Thank you so much, Mr. Chen," he said in that fake sweet voice he used when he wanted something from me. "This really means everything to us." "Oh, just call me Robert," I said, giving him the keys with a huge smile. "After all, your family now, right?" They drove away in Jason's fancy red car, laughing and making plans for their fun trip. I watched them leave, then went inside to check my computer. The camera system I put in wasn't just to stop robbers. It had cameras in lots of rooms and let me control things from far away. I opened the control screen and started putting special letters and documents where they would find them. Letters I'd been saving for just the right moment. A collection of papers that would turn their honeymoon into the worst trip ever. Because 4 months ago, I learned the real truth about my wonderful son-in-law. And now it was time for him to learn what happens when you mess with Robert Chen. Let me tell you how I found out what kind of man my daughter really married. It started with a phone call that changed my whole world. "Mr. Chen, this is Officer Sarah Kim from the Seattle Police. We're looking into some stealing cases and your daughter's boyfriend's name came up in our files. Can we talk to you about this?" My stomach felt sick. This was 3 weeks before the wedding and I was fixing my garden when the call came. "What kind of stealing?" I tried to ask. "Someone has been taking money from old people's bank accounts, pretending to be their grandson or nephew. We think he might have lied about who he is to get close to your daughter. The name Jason Park is pretty new for him." Jason Park, his name wasn't even real. I sat down hard on my garden bench, my brain going crazy. Who had my daughter agreed to marry? What was his old name? I asked the officer. "James Palmer." "He's been James Palmer for most of his life until he changed his name legally 2 years ago. Right around when he met your daughter, actually. 2 years ago. Exactly when he showed up at the gym where Emma worked out, saying he was new in Seattle and looking for a workout buddy. What a strange coincidence." "Officer Kim, what exactly are you trying to find out?" "He stole about $60,000 from old people by pretending to be their family member on the phone. Then he disappeared and changed his name. His victims were mostly grandmas and grandpas who trusted him. He'd make them think he was in trouble, get their bank information, then take all their money before running away. I felt like I might throw up. My daughter, my sweet trusting daughter, was about to marry a thief who hurt old people. Have you talked to my daughter about this? We tried, sir. She said we were wrong about him, that he told her about changing his name already. She said it was because of bad people he owed money to who were chasing him. Of course, he had a sad story ready. That's probably how he got Emma to like him in the first place. My daughter always wanted to help people who seemed sad. What can I do to help? I asked the officer. Honestly, not much legally right now. He hasn't done anything wrong as Jason Park yet, but we thought the family should know what kind of person he really is. After Officer Kim hung up, I sat looking at the wedding invitation on my table. 150 people were going to watch my daughter marry a criminal, but how could I stop it? Emma was completely fooled by him, and like she'd said many times, she thought I was just a mean dad trying to ruin things. That's when I decided to find out more information myself. If the police couldn't prove anything, maybe I could find evidence they missed. I hired a private investigator, a man named Tommy Rodriguez, who was really good at checking people's backgrounds. In 1 week, he found more than the police had. Your future son-in-law is quite interesting, Tommy said, putting photos and papers on my kitchen table. James Palmer has a history of taking advantage of people who trust him, especially women and their families. I looked at the photographs carefully. There was Jason, but younger, with different hair, at fancy parties with people who looked rich. This one, Tommy pointed to a picture of Jason with a fancy-dressed older woman, was Linda Freeman. She owned restaurants in California. They dated for 14 months. She gave him money to start a business, about $180,000. Then he disappeared right after getting the money. That sounds like stealing. It gets more interesting. She tried to find him, but he'd already changed cities and was using a different name. The police couldn't do anything because she gave him the money willingly. My hands started shaking hard. Are you saying he's done this before? I'm saying this is his pattern. He finds people with money, makes them trust him, takes what he can, then disappears. Tommy pulled out another folder. Then there's victim number 2, Rachel Kim, a doctor in Oregon. Same exact pattern. Fast romance, asks for money for an emergency, gets about $95,000, then vanishes. What kind of emergency? He told her his mom was sick and needed an operation. The mom that doesn't exist, by the way. I felt like the room was spinning. This man, this predator, had somehow gotten my daughter to love him, and there was more information. The really scary part, Tommy continued, is what happened between victims. He'd disappear for months, live somewhere quietly, then come back with a new name, new story, new hunting ground. And now he's hunting my daughter, it seems like it. So the question is, what are you going to do about it? I thought about that for a long time. I could show Emma the proof, but she'd already made it clear she wouldn't believe me. I could go to the police again, but they said there wasn't enough evidence for an arrest. Or I could wait and watch and hope he showed his true self before it was too late. That's when Tommy showed me the final piece of information. There's one more thing you should see, he said, opening his laptop computer. I managed to find James's old social media account, the one he thought he deleted completely. He's not as smart with computers as he thinks. The video started playing and my eyes went wide. There was Jason, or James, but he wasn't alone. And he definitely wasn't the nice guy he pretended to be. When was this recorded? I asked Tommy, based on the date on the file, about 8 months ago, right around when he asked your daughter to marry him. I stared at the screen, watching my future son-in-law doing something terrible with people who looked like criminals. The sound was very clear, including the part where he laughed about his stupid girlfriend and how easy it would be to take her dad's money. Can you make me a copy of this? I asked. Tommy nodded his head. What are you planning to do with it? I smiled for the first time in days. I'm going to save my daughter, even if she hates me for it. The next 3 weeks before the wedding were the hardest of my life. Every day I watched Emma get more excited about marrying Jason, and every day I knew more about what he really was. I tried one more time to talk to her, 4 days before the wedding. Emma, sweetheart, are you completely sure about this marriage? Have you and Jason talked about money plans for the future? She rolled her eyes at me. Dad, not this again. Yes, we've talked about money. Yes, I know you think he wants your beach house, but you're wrong about him. What exactly has he told you about his past life? He had some trouble with bad people he owed money to. He had to change his name to stay safe from them. He's been hurt before, which is why he's careful about trusting people. But he loves me, Dad. Really, truly loves me. The lies came so easily to him, and she believed every single word. And you've met his family, right? He doesn't have much family. His parents died in a bad fire when he was little. He was raised by his uncle, who's now very sick in the hospital. It's actually really sad, Dad. Another lie. According to Tommy's investigation, Jason's parents were alive and healthy and living in Texas. They'd tried to warn his previous girlfriends about their son stealing, but by then it was always too late. Emma, what if I told you I have proof that he's not who he says he is? Her face got hard and mean. I'd say you need to stop trying to ruin my happiness. I know you've been lonely since Mom left us, but that doesn't mean you can destroy my wedding. That hurt more than anything Jason had done to me. My own daughter thought I was so sad and lonely that I'd lie to keep her with me forever. I would never lie to you about something this important. Really? Then where's this proof you keep talking about? I hesitated. Showing her the video would break her heart, and there was no promise she'd believe it wasn't fake. Jason had done an excellent job of making me look like a crazy, jealous father. Anything I showed her would be ignored as another trick to break them up. I thought so, she said when I stayed quiet. Dad, I love you, but you need to accept that I'm getting married. Jason is going to be your son-in-law, and if you can't be nice to him, then maybe you shouldn't come to the wedding. That was the moment I knew there was no saving her before the marriage. She'd have to learn the truth the hard way. But that didn't mean I couldn't be ready for when reality showed up. The wedding planning kept going around me like a bad dream. Jason made a big show of asking my opinion on music and food choices, but it was obvious he was just pretending to care. Emma had clearly told him about our conversation because he started being extra nice, like he was proving how wrong I was about him. Robert, you have such good taste, he'd say, showing me color samples. Emma is so lucky to have such a caring father who loves her. But I caught the look in his eyes when he thought I wasn't watching, cold and calculating, like he was measuring how much money he could take. 3 days before the wedding, he made his biggest mistake yet. He asked to meet me for lunch, just the two of us. I know this change is hard for you, he said over hamburgers at a restaurant. Emma means everything to you, and now you have to share her with me. That's what fathers do, I replied carefully. We want our children to be happy, of course. And I want you to know that I would never try to come between you and Emma. Family is so important to me. He said this while wearing a watch that cost more than most people make in a month. Paid for with my daughter's credit card. That's good to hear. Although he continued, his voice getting quieter, more sneaky, I hope you understand that as Emma's husband, I'll need to be the one she trusts most, especially about money stuff. It wouldn't be right for her to discuss our private business with anyone else, even you. There it was, the first move to cut me out of Emma's life completely. I wouldn't expect her to share private information, I said calmly. Wonderful, because I'd hate for there to be any confusion about BOUNDAIS. Emma needs to feel like she can be totally honest with me without worrying about being judged by others. He was already planning to separate her from me, to make sure nobody could warn her when he started taking her money. Jason, can I ask you something? Of course, Robert. Do you love my daughter? His smile never changed, but something flickered in his eyes, something dark. What a strange question. Of course I love her. Why would you ask that? Because loving someone means wanting what's best for them, even when it's not easy. And I wonder if you've ever loved anyone that way in your whole life. Now the mask slipped just for a second. I saw the real Jason, cold and mean and completely selfish. I think he said slowly that you don't know me as well as you think you do. You're absolutely right, I replied. I don't know James Palmer at all. The effect was like lightning. His face went completely white, then turned bright red. For a moment I thought he might actually lose control and yell, I don't know what you're talking about. Of course you don't. Just like you don't know Linda Freeman or Rachel Kim Wright. He stood up so fast his chair almost fell over. This lunch is over right now. Sit down, Jason, or should I call you James? He sat, but his hands were shaking now and sweat appeared on his face. Here's what's going to happen, I continued calmly. You're going to marry my daughter because stopping you now would hurt her more than letting this continue. But I want you to know that I know exactly what you are. And the second you hurt her, I will destroy your whole life. You can't prove anything about me, can't I? I pulled out my phone and showed him a screenshot from the video Tommy had found. Not the worst part, just enough to let him know what I had. The color left his face completely. That's impossible. I deleted everything. Technology is amazing these days, isn't it? Deleting doesn't always mean gone forever, James. He stared at the phone, then at me with pure hatred. What do you want from me? I want you to be a good husband to my daughter. I want you to love her and take care of her and never give me a reason to share what I know about your past. And if I don't, I smiled and put my phone away. Then you'll find out what happens when you underestimate a father protecting his child. He left without saying another word, and I sat there finishing my hamburger, feeling better than I had in weeks. At least now he knew I wasn't the stupid old man he'd thought I was. But I should have known that threatening a predator would only make him more dangerous and angry. The honeymoon was supposed to last 8 days. They came back after 3 days and Emma looked like she'd been crying for hours. They showed up at my house on Wednesday afternoon, Jason's face red and angry, Emma looking pale and sick. I opened the door with my warmest smile. Hello, you two, you're back early from the beach house. How was your trip? You know exactly how it was, Jason said, pushing past me into my living room. Emma wouldn't even look at me. She stood in my doorway like she was afraid to come inside, which was probably smart. I'm afraid I don't understand, I said innocently. Did something bad happen? The letters, Dad, the letters you left hidden all over the house. The documents that started appearing everywhere we looked. I gasped like I was shocked. Oh my goodness, were there old papers in the drawers? I forgot to clean those out. How terrible. Cut the act, Robert. Jason snapped at me. You did this on purpose. Somehow you planned this whole thing. Jason, honey, I don't know anything about leaving letters. You know I'm not good at planning complicated things, but I'd practiced that speech many times. Tommy had taught me exactly how to hide things all over the beach house. It was surprisingly easy once you knew the right places. It was him. Emma finally spoke, her voice broken and sad. He left police reports and bank statements and victim testimonies everywhere. He knows things about Jason's past, things that can't be true, and he's trying to destroy our marriage. What things? I asked gently, though I knew exactly what things. Dad, if you have something you want to say about Jason's past, now would be a good time, Emma said, her voice shaking. It's all lies, Jason said desperately. He hired someone to make fake papers, fake police reports, fake everything. He can't stand that you chose me over staying home with him forever. I walked to my desk and pulled out the folder Tommy had given me. Perhaps these will clear things up. I handed Emma the file with copies of his old driver's license, court documents, police reports, and newspaper articles about his previous victims. Emma's hands shook as she read through everything. Jason, what is this? Why does this driver's license say your name is James Palmer? I can explain everything. And why are there police reports with your picture on them? Emma, please just listen to me. And what's this about Linda Freeman losing $180,000? Jason, who are these people? She was crying harder now, makeup running down her face, making black lines. I was going to tell you everything after we got married. I was scared you wouldn't understand me. Understand what? That you've stolen money from people before, that you changed your name to hide from the police. That your real name is James. It's not what it looks like, I promise you. Then explain it, she said, her voice getting louder and more upset. Explain why my dad has newspaper articles about you being investigated by police. Explain why there's a police report here about stealing from old people. I sat down in my comfortable chair and watched my son-in-law's lies fall apart. It was even more satisfying than I'd imagined it would be. The name change was because of dangerous people I owed money to, he said desperately. I told you that story already. And yes, I knew those people before, but they weren't good people. They tried to control me and blame me for things, by giving you thousands of dollars. Emma's voice was ice cold now. I never asked for that money from anyone. They forced it on me because they felt guilty about lying about me, and then they just happened to report you to the police for stealing. I didn't steal anything from anybody. Emma looked at me with tears in her eyes. Dad, where did you get all this information? I hired a private investigator after Officer Kim called me about the stealing case against James Palmer. What stealing case? I explained about the phone call from the police, about the money he'd taken from old people by pretending to be their grandson, about his pattern of targeting people with money and disappearing. But he didn't meet me by targeting me, Emma said slowly. He met me at the gym by accident. Actually, I said gently, according to the investigator, he joined that gym 5 days before meeting you. Right after he researched our family and found out about Grandpa's beach house and my business. Emma sank onto my couch like all the energy left her body. You researched my family before meeting me. Emma, please listen. I love you more than anything. Everything else was in the past before I met you. You changed me and made me a better person. The same way Linda Freeman changed you. The same way Rachel Kim changed you. This is different, is it? Because according to these police reports, you told Rachel Kim the exact same thing. That she changed you. That you'd never felt love like this before. That your past didn't matter because you were different with her. I hadn't mentioned that detail to Emma. She figured it out herself by reading Tommy's notes. My daughter was smarter than I'd given her credit for. Emma, I know this looks really bad, but looks bad. She stood up, walking around my living room like a trapped animal. Jason or James, or whoever you really are, I just read police reports about you. Stealing money from old grandmas and grandpas while pretending to be their family member. How exactly is that supposed to look good? He went completely silent. The crying stopped. The desperate explaining stopped. Everything stopped. When he finally looked up at her, I saw the real man behind the fake smile for the first time. You want to know the truth, he said, his voice completely different now, cold demeanor, more honest. Fine, here's the real truth. Yes, I researched your family. Yes, I joined that gym to meet you specifically. Yes, I lied about my past and my name. But so what? You got exactly what you wanted out of this marriage too, what I wanted. Emma's voice shook. A handsome young husband who made you look successful and happy. Someone to show off at your job. Someone to make your friends jealous and impressed. You think I didn't know you were just trying to prove something to your mom who left? That's not true. Really. Then why did you agree to marry me after 3 months? Why did you insist on having the big fancy wedding where all her old friends could see? Why did you tell everyone about how I was different from other men your mom introduced you to? I had to admit, he had a point there. Emma had always been insecure about her mom leaving us when she was little. You used me, she said quietly, her voice breaking. We used each other, he corrected her. The only difference is I'm being honest about it now instead of pretending. Did you ever love me at all? Even a little bit? He was quiet for a long moment, and I could see him deciding whether to keep lying or tell the complete truth. I love the life you could give me. I love the security, the beach house, the future we could have had together. But love you, Emma, the way you mean it. I don't think I'm capable of loving anyone that way. That was the moment my daughter's heart truly broke into pieces. Not when she saw the police reports, not when she read about his other victims, but when he admitted he'd never loved her at all, not even once. I want you out of my life, she said quietly, tears streaming down her face. This isn't your house to kick me out of, he replied meanly. Technically, it's still your dad's house, and given what I know about how you didn't make me sign any wedding papers, I might own half of everything soon. The threat was clear and scary. He was going to try to take everything in the divorce and hurt Emma as much as possible. Emma looked at me helplessly, like a little girl again. Dad, what do I do? How do I fix this? For the first time in months, my daughter was asking for my help instead of pushing me away. First, I said calmly, you call a lawyer who knows about divorces. Then you call the bank and freeze any accounts he can access. Then you change all your passwords and make sure he can't steal anything else. You can't prove any of this in court, Jason said, but there was no confidence in his voice anymore. Actually, I replied, I can prove all of it. Tommy was very careful in his investigation, and video evidence is particularly helpful in court cases. The look he gave me could have frozen fire itself. This isn't over, old man, he said threateningly. Yes, I said calmly, it is. Now get out of my house before I call the police. He left, slamming the door so hard the windows shook and Emma collapsed back onto my couch crying. Dad, I'm so sorry. I should have listened to you from the beginning. You couldn't have known, sweetheart. He was very good at tricking people and lying. How did you know to investigate him? Did you just have a feeling? I sat down next to her and held her hand tight, because no father watches his daughter fall for someone and doesn't ask questions. And when the police called me, I knew I had to protect you no matter what. The police called you first. They tried to call you, but you wouldn't listen to them. So they called me instead to warn me. Emma was quiet for a long moment, processing everything. He's going to try to take all my money in the divorce, isn't he? He's going to try his best, but he's going to find out that Robert Chen didn't raise a daughter who goes into battle without protection and backup. What do you mean by that? I smiled and pulled out another folder, this one much thicker than the first. I mean, your grandpa taught me a thing or two about protecting family money and assets, and Tommy found some very interesting information about how James Palmer's previous victims got their money back when the courts found out about his lies. Emma stared at me like she was seeing me as a completely different person. Dad, you're kind of scary when you want to protect someone. Sweetheart, I said, squeezing her hand, you have no idea how far father will go. The divorce started exactly as I'd predicted it would. Jason, or James, hired the most expensive lawyer in Seattle and immediately filed papers demanding half of everything Emma owned, plus monthly payments, plus money for emotional pain and suffering. His lawyer, a mean woman named Patricia Wells, actually had the nerve to call me on the phone. Mr. Chen, I represent your son-in-law in the divorce case. I understand you've been spreading some rather serious lies about my client. I haven't been spreading anything, I said pleasantly. I simply gave my daughter truthful information about the man she married. Truthful information that was obtained through illegal ways, hiring investigators to follow my client around, invasion of his privacy. My client has grounds for a big lawsuit against you personally, and we will pursue it. I almost laughed out loud. Ms. Wells, I think you should speak with your client about his previous legal troubles before you threaten me with lawsuits. Mr. Chen, I'm going to be very clear with you. My client is entitled to half of your daughter's money and assets, and that includes her future inheritance from you. You interfere with these divorce proceedings, I will make sure you lose everything you own. How interesting. Does your client happen to mention that he's not actually entitled to any inheritance because it's held in a special trust that specifically excludes spouses married for less than 3 years? There was a long pause on the phone. What trust are you talking about? The one my father established when Emma was 12 years old. The one that protects family assets from exactly this kind of situation. I'm surprised James didn't research that when he was researching everything else about our family. Another pause, longer this time. I'll need to see papers proving this trust exists. Of course, my lawyer will provide copies during the legal discovery process, along with all the documentation about James Palmer's previous victims and the criminal complaints filed against him by police. Wells hung up without another word, and I smiled to myself. 2 days later, Jason showed up at my house again. This time he was alone and he looked desperate and scared. We need to talk. He said when I opened the door, I don't think we have anything to discuss, James. Please, just 5 minutes of your time. Against my better judgment, I let him inside. He stood in my living room looking around like he was trying to memorize everything for the last time. You've won, he said finally. Is that what you want to hear? You've successfully destroyed my marriage and my whole life. Congratulations on that. I didn't destroy anything, James. I simply showed the truth about what was already there. You know Emma will never trust another man again because of this, right? You've made sure she'll be alone forever, dependent on you for the rest of her life. That strung because there was some truth in his words. Emma had been devastated by his betrayal, and she'd been clinging to me like a lifeline ever since the truth came out. Emma will heal eventually, I said, and someday she'll find someone who actually loves her for who she is. Will she? Because right now she's crying herself to sleep every night and calling me begging me to explain why I lied to her about everything. I hadn't known about the phone calls or the crying every night. What do you want, James? What's your purpose for coming here? I want you to give me some money, enough to start over somewhere far away. In exchange, I'll disappear completely from Emma's life. No long divorce fight, no court battle, no lawsuits against you. I'll sign whatever papers your lawyers want and vanish forever. How much money are we talking about? $1 million cash. I actually did laugh then, loud and long. You must be joking. I know about the Freeman family threatening to sue me. I know about the police still investigating Palmer's financial crimes. If this divorce gets messy and goes to trial, all of that will come out in public. The newspapers will have a field day writing stories about it. Emma's name will be connected to mine in every news article about con artist husbands who trick women. He was right about that. A big public trial would destroy Emma's reputation along with his. And if I pay you $1 million, you'll just disappear forever. I'll move to a different country far away. Change my name one more time. Start fresh somewhere new. Emma can get a quiet divorce for normal reasons, and her name stays out of the newspapers completely. I pretended to think about his offer carefully. That's quite a deal you're proposing. But I have a different idea for you instead. What different idea? Nothing. You get absolutely nothing from me or Emma. You sign the divorce papers accepting full responsibility for destroying the marriage. You give up any claim to money or property, and you disappear anyway without getting paid. Why would I possibly agree to that? I walked to my desk and pulled out yet another folder. The folder I'd been saving for exactly this moment. Jason's face went completely pale when he saw it, because Tommy's investigation turned up something very interesting about Rachel Kim and what happened to her money. What are you talking about? Security camera footage from her bank showing you using her ATM card to withdraw money 3 days after she reported it stolen. Footage that clearly shows your face, even though you told police you'd never touched her card. That's impossible. Nobody had that footage. The timestamp is very clear, James. You withdrew $8,000 from her account using her stolen card. But according to your statement to police, you claimed you hadn't seen Rachel in over a week when the card was stolen. That's a felony crime. Jason sat down hard in my chair, all the color draining from his face. That footage doesn't prove anything. It proves you lied to the police, which is a crime. It proves you stole money using her card, which is another crime. And if the police reopen Rachel Kim's case with this new evidence, they'll probably take another look at Linda Freeman's case too. And who knows what else they'll find when they start digging deeper into James Palmer's past. What do you want me to do? He whispered, his voice barely audible. I want you to sign a confession. A confession admitting to what? To fraud and lying. To knowingly marrying my daughter under false name with the intent to steal her money and assets. Nothing about the other victims, nothing about the previous crimes, just a simple admission that you lied about your identity and your reasons for marrying Emma. If I sign that paper, I could go to prison for years. Maybe, or maybe the district attorney will be satisfied with you paying back money and doing community service, especially if you cooperate fully and leave Washington state permanently. She stared at the floor for what felt like forever, and if I refused to sign it, then I give this security camera footage to the Seattle police along with all the other evidence Tommy found, and we'll see how well your expensive lawyer handles a criminal investigation on top of a divorce case. The silence felt heavy and long between us. Finally, he looked up at me with something that might have been respect mixed with fear. You really are a terrifying old man when you want to be. I'm a father protecting his daughter. That makes me the most dangerous person in the world to people like you. He signed the confession that same afternoon at my kitchen table. Within 1 week, he'd filed for divorce accepting full blame and giving up all claims to Emma's money. Within 1 month, he'd left Washington state completely and moved somewhere far away. Emma never knew about the confession or the security footage I had. As far as she knew, Jason had just decided to leave quietly rather than fight a battle he couldn't win. She was hurt and confused and angry, but she was safe. The late-night crying stopped after a few weeks. The phone calls to Jason's disconnected number ended when she finally accepted he was gone. Slowly, very slowly, my daughter started to heal and become herself again. Dad, she said one afternoon about 3 months after Jason left, I owe you the biggest apology ever. A really big one. You don't owe me anything, sweetheart. Nothing at all. Yes, I do. I chose him over you. I accused you of being jealous and controlling when you were just trying to protect me from a bad person. I kicked you out of my own wedding in front of everyone. You were in love with him. People do really stupid things when they're in love. I hurt you badly, really badly, and you saved me anyway even though I was mean to you. I thought about that night at the beach house, watching Jason's face when he realized I'd trapped him completely with evidence. I thought about the look in his eyes when he signed that confession, knowing he'd finally met someone more stubborn and protective than he was cunning. That's what parents do, I said gently. We protect our children even when they don't want to be protected or don't think they need it. How did you know he was lying about everything? Even before the police officer called you. I smiled, remembering the first time I'd met him at that gym. Instinct mostly, just a feeling. Something about him felt wrong from the start. He was too perfect, too eager to make you happy, too interested in all the wrong things about our family. What wrong things do you mean? He asked about Grandpa's beach house and my business before he asked what your favorite food was. He knew how much money we had before he knew what movies you liked to watch. When someone loves you, they want to know who you are as a person. When someone's using you, they want to know what you're worth in dollars. Emma nodded slowly, understanding finally sinking in. I should have seen it earlier. I should have known something was wrong. No, sweetheart, you should have been able to trust that the man you married actually loved you. The fact that you couldn't see through his lies just means you're a good person who expects the best from people and believes them. Like Mom was before she left us. Exactly like your mom, and that's not something to be ashamed of or feel bad about. We sat quietly for a while, watching the sun go down through my kitchen window, painting the sky orange and pink. Finally, Emma spoke again, her voice small and scared. "Dad, how do I make sure this never happens again? How do I ever trust anyone after this?" Carefully and slowly, I said, "But you will trust again eventually, because the alternative is spending your whole life alone and scared, and that's exactly what Jason wanted for you. He wanted to poison you against love so completely that you'd never risk your heart again with anyone. Maybe being alone would be safer for me. Safer, yes, but not happier or better. And your mother and I didn't raise you to choose safe over happy, Emma. Besides," I added with a small smile, "next time you'll have the advantage of a very paranoid dad who knows exactly how to run a background check on anyone." She laughed for the first time in months, and the sound filled my heart with relief and joy. My daughter was going to be okay. It would take time and healing, but she was going to be okay and whole again. And if anyone else ever tried to hurt her, well, they'd find out what I'd learned about myself during this whole terrible experience. There's nothing more dangerous in the world than a parent who's discovered they're capable of anything to protect their child. 7 months later, Emma started dating again. His name was Michael. He was an elementary school teacher, and the first thing he did when he met me was show me pictures of his students' art projects. "This is the mural my third graders made for the school cafeteria," he said proudly, scrolling through his phone. "And this is the science fair project that won first place. And here's the class hamster, Mr. Whiskers, who escaped twice last month. Real job, real passion, real life that could be checked and verified by anyone who cared to look. She seems really nice," I told Emma later when we were alone. "He is Dad, and I know what you're thinking." I smiled. "What am I thinking? I had Tommy run a background check on him already, didn't I?" Michael James Thompson, 31 years old, born in Portland, graduated from Teachers College with honors, no criminal record of any kind, and his biggest worry is whether his students are learning enough. Completely normal and boring in the best way possible. I know, right? It's weird dating someone who's actually honest about their whole life and doesn't hide anything. 4 months later, Michael asked my permission to propose to Emma. We were sitting on my back porch, drinking lemonade and watching Emma inside making dinner. "Mr. Chen, I love your daughter very much," he said nervously, "and I know you have every reason to be protective of her after what happened with Jason. I'd like your blessing to ask her to marry me, but I understand if you need more time to trust me." I studied his face carefully, looking for any sign of lying or manipulation. I found only genuine nervousness and love. "What makes you love my daughter, Michael?" He smiled, and it was the kind of smile that made his whole face light up with joy. "She's kind without being weak. She's smart without being mean about it. She treats my students like they matter when she visits my classroom. And when she talks about you, her whole face gets happy and proud. Any woman who loves her father that much is someone I want to spend my life with." That night after they'd left together, I called Tommy one more time. "I need one final favor," I said to him. "Let me guess, Michael Thompson. You already ran a check on him, didn't you?" The moment Emma started dating him, obviously. "And he's exactly what he appears to be, Robert. A genuinely good man from a good family who happens to love your daughter. No hidden past, no mysterious disappearances, no victims. His longest relationship before Emma was with a woman named Jennifer who broke up with him because she got a job in another state. They're still friends and she speaks highly of him. His biggest scandal is a library book he returned 3 weeks late in college, so he's perfect. He's normal, which probably seems perfect after what Emma went through before. I hung up feeling something I hadn't felt in a very long time, real hope and peace. My daughter had found someone who loved her for herself, not for what money he could take from her. 1 year later, Michael proposed to Emma in my garden, right next to the flowers I'd planted after my wife left. She said yes through happy tears and laughter, and the first thing she did after putting on the ring was hug me tight. "I'm so glad you'll be part of our family officially," she told Michael. "Welcome to the Chen family." "I'd be HONORED," he said, shaking my hand firmly. The wedding was small and beautiful, held in the same garden where they'd gotten engaged. Michael's family came from Portland, and they were exactly as warm and genuine as he was. His mother hugged me before the ceremony started. "Thank you for raising such a wonderful daughter," she said with tears in her eyes. We couldn't be happier that Michael found someone like Emma. This time I sat in the front row with tears of joy and happiness streaming down my face. This time nobody screamed at me to leave or made me feel unwanted. This time I watched my daughter marry someone who truly deserved her love. During his speech at the party, Michael looked directly at me. "I want to thank Robert for never giving up on Emma, even when it would have been easier to let her make her own mistakes. Sir, you showed me what it means to be a real father, and I hope someday I can be half as protective and loving with my own children." Emma's best friend's speech was even better and made everyone cry. "I've never seen a father and daughter who love each other as purely as Robert and Emma," she said. "Robert didn't just raise a daughter. He raised a woman who knows how to love without fear, how to trust after being hurt, and how to forgive people who protect her. Any man lucky enough to marry into this family knows he's getting not just a wife, but an example of what unconditional love looks like." That night, as I watched my daughter and her new husband dance to their wedding song, I thought about Jason Palmer, wherever he was in the world. I hoped he'd learned his lesson about hurting innocent people. And I hoped he never tried to destroy anyone else's life the way he'd tried to destroy Emma's. But mostly I thought about the lesson I'd learned through this whole difficult experience. Sometimes protecting the people you love means being willing to become someone fiercer and stronger than you ever thought possible. Sometimes love requires you to be tough, smart, and absolutely unforgiving toward people who want to cause harm. I'd always thought of myself as a gentle person, someone who avoided conflict and gave people second chances. But when my daughter's happiness was threatened, I discovered I was capable of things that would have shocked the old Robert Chen. I'd hired investigators, gathered evidence through clever means, and ultimately forced a confession through what was basically blackmail and threats. A year ago, I would have been horrified and ashamed by those actions. Now, watching Emma and Michael laugh together at their table, I felt nothing but satisfaction and pride. I'd done what was necessary to protect my child, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat without hesitation. The next morning, Emma brought me coffee and thanked me for the most beautiful wedding she could have ever imagined. Dad, I hope you know that I consider myself the luckiest daughter in the whole world. Not just because I married Michael, but because I have a father where love means everything and family comes first. Welcome to our family forever, Michael, I said, hugging them both tight. And thank you both for making this old man so incredibly happy. As they headed home to start their new life together, I sat thinking about how much had changed in 2 years. 2 years ago, I'd been a trusting father who assumed the best about everyone and gave people chances. I'd learned the hard way that the world contained predators who viewed kindness as weakness and love as an opportunity to take advantage. But I'd also learned that I was stronger and braver than I'd ever imagined possible. When pushed to my limits, I could be every bit as cunning and determined as any con artist or criminal. The difference was that I used those skills to protect instead of hurt, to defend instead of attack and steal. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number I didn't recognize. Saw Emma's wedding announcement online. Congratulations to her and Michael. Hope they'll be very happy together. Jason Palmer checking in from whatever new life he'd built somewhere far away. I stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding at all. Some chapters of life are meant to stay closed forever and never reopened. I got up, got dressed, and went to meet Emma and Michael for breakfast at their new house. My real family, the one built on truth and love and mutual respect and trust. Good morning, Dad, Emma said, kissing my cheek when I arrived. Sleep well last night. Perfectly, I said, and I meant every word. After everything we'd been through, everything I'd had to do to protect her from a dangerous person, this was what mattered most. My daughter was safe, happy, and loved by someone who truly deserved her heart. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even or hurting people back. Sometimes the best revenge is simply making sure good people get the happy endings they deserve in life. And sometimes being a good parent means being willing to be the villain in someone else's story if that's what it takes. I poured myself coffee and sat down with my family, finally at peace with both the man I'd been and the man I'd had to become. If you're watching this story, I want you to remember something important. Never underestimate a parent protecting their child from harm. We're capable of anything when the people we love are threatened or in danger. And to any predators out there thinking you can target someone's family without consequences, think again and be warned. Because somewhere out there is a parent like me, and we're always watching and protecting. Thanks for listening to my story. Don't forget to subscribe to Anon Voices and feel free to share your story in the comments below. Your voice matters to us.